We are not at a stage right now where we could build a model and build a really robust model based on polls alone or anything else alone. Primaries tend to be quite volatile, and there are some fundamental questions that we would need to ask about the Democratic primary. At the same time, we are at a point now where more often than not, the candidate who was leading in the primary at this point in time actually wins the nomination. Donald Trump was leading at this point 4 years ago. Hillary Clinton was as well. Mitt Romney 4 years before that. This year you kind of have co-leaders in the polls right now, Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren, depending on whether you emphasize state polls or national polls. And you have a very large field, but there are some fundamental questions here. First of all, I think the thing that everyone's asking about everything after Trump is, hey, how much has the world changed in a post-Trump environment? As an empiricist, my bias is to say, hey, maybe not all that much, that Trump is a one-time event, that having populism bubble back into American society is not the most surprising thing in the world. It's always been an undercurrent and so on and so forth. But questions like how much does the party establishment influence the nomination? Traditionally a lot, maybe not as much in the post-Trump era. There are also more pedestrian questions where how much do Iowa and New Hampshire matter? Traditionally, very difficult to win the nomination if you don't win either Iowa or New Hampshire. But also the Democratic Party is becoming a lot more diverse. Iowa and New Hampshire are really, really white and also very liberal in terms of Democratic primary electorate. And so how much is the past a guide to the future is kind of the thing that I'm trying to do, but is difficult at this point in the Democratic primary in various ways. I'm also kind of fascinated between gaps between what you might call purely objective ways of looking at an election, so polling-driven models, and kind of what the conventional wisdom or the zeitgeist, as you might put it, is about elections. And as is often the case, there is some tension this year between what the polls say and what the conventional wisdom is. If you go to the Real Clear Politics polling average, it has Biden at 27%, Warren 22%, Bernie 17%, and then a big drop-off. There are also places where you can go and actually place bets on election outcomes, prediction markets, and they don't match the polls all that well. They have Warren at 45%, 44% to win, despite in national polls being a little bit behind Biden. They also discount Bernie's chances relative to how well he's doing in the polls and are bigger on Mayor Pete, for example, than Bernie. I could go spend all 20 minutes on prediction markets alone, but there is this tension. I think one thing I've found is that people tend to always be looking for an alternative to the polls, tend to be looking for, hey, I have the pulse of the election, I understand how things are trending. Historically, though, a lot of times when the polls are wrong, the conventional wisdom is even more wrong. Polls in 2016 show Donald Trump as an underdog. We have about a 30% chance to beat Hillary Clinton. The average TV pundit thought he had no chance whatsoever. So I'm sometimes wary when, instead of throwing our hands up and saying, hey, it's too early to really know all that much, people make very precise assumptions based on very little data instead.